It's time now for Mark Meets, in which I speak to the biggest names in the world of politics, showbiz, sport, business and beyond. Tonight, a man who has done just about everything in broadcasting. Radio and TV legend Mike Reid, host of Top of the Pops and Saturday Superstore. But a man who made his name at Radio Luxembourg before joining Radio 1 and ultimately becoming King of Breakfast, where he entertained an audience of millions for 5 years. After that, Capital Gold, Classic FM, Magic. This is a guy with radio in his DNA. He's put on musicals, recorded pop records, and even written a chart-topping hit for Cliff Richard. Plus, he entertained scores of ITV viewers with a memorable stint in the jungle on I'm a Celebrity. Mike Reid, welcome to Mark Dolan Tonight.
Thank you very much, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Great to have you on the show. What a career. How did you get into broadcasting?
I got in, there was a guy on local radio who's running it called Neil French Blake. And Neil called me in one day. I'd played in a few cricket matches and he'd been there. And he said, I want you on my station for 3 reasons. He said, 1, you're terribly English. He said, 2, you're mildly eccentric. And 3, you're a bloody good opening bowler. And I said, what's the last one got to do with it? He said, I'm starting a cricket team and you're opening the bowling. I said, do you not want to hear me broadcast? He said, I'll be fine. And that was it. I was in. So when people ask how you get into radio, I think everybody gets in a totally different way, you know.
And for some of my younger viewers, can you give them a sense of how massive Top of the Pops was?
Yeah, all those programs were big, but don't forget there were only 4 channels then. I mean, there are now hundreds of channels, loads of radio stations, but then there were 4. So Saturday morning, Saturday Superstore, we regularly got 10 million. Hop was on a Saturday night, we got 10 million. Top of the Pops to get 15 or 16 million. I think the Radio 1 Breakfast Show got about 14 million. So they were big, but there wasn't the competition there is now. So it wasn't as diluted. So that was one reason you probably got those figures. But it was just fun to do. You know, Mark, I really thought at the time I was just having a good time. But it turns out I learned stuff. Latterly, I realized that I actually did learn things. You know, you learn about the legalities of things, what you can say, what you can't say, how to treat people, how to deal with people, you know, how to have a good time, how to be a team member. Certainly on TV, you know this as well as anybody. You may be the front man, but there's a whole lot of people behind you making it work. It's not just you. You either get, you know, the brickbats or the bouquets, whatever's coming your way, but it's a whole team, and you're just the tip of the iceberg.
Too right. And of course, when you were at Radio 1, that was a golden era for the network. You were the king of breakfast with an army of fans and the likes of yourself and Simon Bates and all of those legends. You know, you were the rock stars of your era. Do you think radio is still the art form it once was, Mike?
I think it's more straitjacketed now, and I listen to it. I hear people that don't have a say. One of the great things was that you pick the music, and I still do breakfast for various shows now in the UK and Canada. But I'm lucky I get to pick the music. And if you've got ears, somebody said to me recently, you're an A&R man, you're a record company as well as being on the radio. You're listening to music. You know, 3 years ago, I created the Heritage Chart because there were a lot of heritage artists still making great music, weren't being touched by the major stations. And they said, you know, the Nick Kershaw's, the Paul Youngs, the Kim Wildes, the Howard Jones. Well, what do we do? Where do we go? So 3 years ago, the anniversary is coming up in July. I started the Heritage Chart, and we're on the 66th TV show this week as well. So that's worked well. It's been a good shop window for those artists. So, yeah, I've always liked to be involved. And I think at a lot of radio now, you can't be involved. They don't let you get involved. This is what we're playing. This is what we're doing. This is how we do it. And I think that would frustrate me enormously.
The Heritage Chart is a fabulous, fabulous legacy of yours, and it can be found at heritagechart.co.uk. Highly recommended. Let's talk about the current world of radio. What do you make of Ken Bruce leaving Radio 2 after all those years? I have it, Mike, on good authority that he wasn't really offered a new contract.
I wouldn't know, so I really can't comment. You know, we only comment on stuff we see on social media or in the media, so I really don't know. Ken's always been a great broadcaster. He's done a great job at Radio 2. Sometimes it's, oh, there he is, look. Sometimes, you know, it's time to move on. It's time to go somewhere else. You, like anyone, like a footballer, you know, you think, hello, you know, maybe it's time to move on. do you move on before you're pushed or whatever? I don't know. I mean, but he's found a new home and he sounds quite happy on it. So that's always good. It's when you're not doing what you love. Well, one thing I talk to people about in radio, and they say we're doing a job we love in a way that we don't, and that is frustrating. I think I'd never really want to do that.
Tell me about your latest project, a brand new book out in July.
Yeah, it's a series of books. I'm doing 6 books on 1,000 years of a London street. I had Denmark Street out, a couple of years ago. Cheapside comes out. There it is, 1,000 years of Cheapside, with a lot of characters who are in it, including 2 broadcasters we can see there. So, yeah, that's out in July, 1,000 years of Cheapside. And then the next one is 1,000 years of Piccadilly. It's great fun to do. I love it. I've always been a historian. I've been on archaeological digs since I was 7, 8 years old. So I've always done that. I've always been on stage since 8 as well, which again gives you a good, doing archaeological digs, being on stage gives you a good sort of sense of playing in a team, and a bit of confidence and a bit of knowledge as well. But no, I love doing these books. It's great.
Mike, thrilled to have you on the show. I've been listening to you and watching you for so many years, and you are still the gold standard. Thanks for joining us on Mark Dolan Tonight.